Alright, so today we're talking about foggy photography, and yeah, that kind of rhymes. So, excuse me. The fog is disappearing quickly, so we're going to try to make this happen fast, but we were talking about how to take foggy photos on an iPhone. Let's do this. Ooh, that's a good shot. Okay, so the first thing you want to look for when you do foggy photography is leading lines, something that your eye will look at and it will follow into an area. So it kind of shows how foggy it really is, how fast it drops off. Okay, so this right here is a very good example. You can see how foggy it is out there. You have these leading lines that lead into it, so your eyes look exactly right down there. And I probably shouldn't have turned away to talk because then you can't hear me very well. Okay, so I'm using the Obscura app. It is really good. The only reason I use it is because it takes raw photos, so you have a little more manipulation in the editing room. So that's why I use it. Otherwise, your camera app will work just the same. I'm going to try to line it up so the horizon is center. Probably tilt it up, that way we're on the lower third. And we'll just take a few shots there. Alright, we're moving on to the next spot. That is a very good location. Got a few photos of it. And we're moving on to the next one. See what else we can find that's still foggy. If we can make it move fast enough, we can get still some nice foggy photos because it is vanishing. Alright, so here's another thing you can do, is use distance and use objects and use trees to see the fog. So, I mean, if you're just taking a picture of a nice flat field with the sky, it's kind of hard to tell if it's foggy or not. So, if you use stuff like this where you've got trees over there, you've got trees over there, you've got trees way out there, it really gives you a feel of actually how foggy it is. Alright, so we're going to do the exact same thing. I should really get rid of this gum. Does not make for good talking. Ugh. Keep having to move it in my mouth and it sounds like I'm talking funny. So right here is another really good location for fog photos because of the leading lines. It leads just into nothing, just puff of cloud. Alright, let's grab this shot. So I really don't mess with any of the settings in here. I just, like I said, I changed it to raw and that's basically it. You don't really have to worry about a whole lot. You can just change it later. So that's what I do. As long as the focus is pretty good, then that's all you need. So I'm using my telephoto lens because that pull right there, and if I just punch in a little bit, I get a little more foggy and I get rid of that pull. So that's awesome. I'll show you my next favorite spot. Now this spot is super awesome because there's a reason. Things don't just look cool because they just happen to look cool. They usually look cool for a reason. So the reason this looks so awesome is because you have layers of trees and depth. That's why it looks so cool. So this is one of my favorite spots to take of a foggy photo. The 2 times of a year we actually get fog. So I think you guys have the basics down already. So let's just, I'm going to line it on the lower third because get as much of the trees as possible, still keep my composition. I'm going to actually go walk up past the fence. Ooh, that's a good shot. Alright, so this would be like the last shot we do. This one is more focused on like macro stuff, but still getting some of that fog in the background. So with more like macro photography stuff, you can't use the Obscura app for that because it, for some reason, I think they just need to update it or something, but it can't do very close focus at all. So just go back to your old default camera app if you're not using that already. I'm using an iPhone 8 Plus, so I have dual lens, and you probably already know that because I've been using telephoto. So I go to my 2x, and that is beautiful for creamy background blurred shots. Sometimes I use portrait if the background is too close, but for this kind of stuff, the background's usually far enough away and it blurs it itself, so that's really cool. It's not wanting to focus very well, so I always use this trick. Put your hand there, and I usually focus on that. Walk it, and you're good to go. And I always take a lot of photos, that way I have options in the editing room. So, alright, let's go edit these. Woo-wee. My goodness, it is actually getting cold out there. Alrighty, so. Oh man, I bit my lip earlier, and you know how when you bite your lip and then it like swells up and it's just annoying, and then you bite it again because it's swollen? That is irritating. Oh man, that is the worst thing to have happen. We are going to edit these fog photos. Oh, these are gonna look awesome. Let's not waste any time like we already have, and let's get right into it. So I've put all my photos in an album, and that way, because I've already gone through and picked which ones I liked and which ones I didn't, and just put them all in an album. That way I can find them and edit them a lot easier than if I just had to go through and hunt and pick and find. Hunt and peck or hunt and pick? I don't know. If I just had to go through, hunt and find, that sounds better. I am totally off topic. I put them all on an album, that way I can edit them easier once I drop them into Lightroom. That's what I'm going to use to edit them. It's just easier, it has a little more flexibility. Alright, so let's open up Lightroom, and we will click the little import button, and then we'll go from camera roll to fog photography. And I'm just going to select all these, add 18 photos. Importing, still importing. 18 photos successfully imported. That didn't take too long. Alright, so let's start with that one we took first. It's not the best because it wasn't the foggiest right then. It was like super foggy earlier. It was awesome, but this one's okay for the amount of fog. I kind of wish there was a little bit more, but we'll edit it anyways. So I go through and I make presets of everything. But I'm not going to use a preset. I'm just going to do it from scratch. That way you can kind of see the process. I always like to give photos kind of the feeling you have when you were there. So for me, it was cold. It was very cold doing this. It was foggy. It was awesome. It was wonderful. But I want to give it kind of like that same vibe. So I'm going to add tints of blue and stuff like that to give it that nice cool feel that it was chilly that day. So don't really do a whole lot in here. If it's underexposed, bring it up. If it's overexposed, bring it down. It's pretty basic. Add a little bit of contrast. You don't want to add a whole lot with fog photos, because if you over contrast it, it will just kind of like take out the fog, and it doesn't even look that much real. So just mess with all these. There's no hard and fast rule with this kind of stuff. You just kind of edit it to your liking. Foggy photos, you don't want to darken the shadows too much unless that's a look you're going for, but if you darken the shadows, then it kind of gets rid of your fog. So yep, just be aware of that. I'm gonna go into curves, and we will put a curve on the shadows. Oh, there it's coming in. That cold vibe is right there. That's what I like to do. So now we'll just go into color, and don't really see a whole lot. We can change the vibrance, add just a little bit of saturation, not overdoing it. We can go into mix, and not a whole lot in here to do. I mean, there's a little bit of green right there, and I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that green in there, so we can get rid of that. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot to change in this, so we'll just leave that as is. Effects, don't really do a whole lot with these. Do not use dehaze if you're going for a fog photo, because if you use dehaze, well, there was no point in taking a fog photo, because you can just dehaze it right out, and it looks like it's just atmosphere in the distance. So don't use that. If you want, you could add a little extra haze. Now, ooh, that's vignette. That's kind of cool. I always like just to add just a tiny touch of vignette here on the edge. That's cool. Details, don't really need any noise reduction or anything. If you're really editing a photo and it wasn't raw, then you'll probably need noise reduction, but I usually don't. So there we go. We will now save that to the camera roll, maximum available, because why would you go otherwise? This may take a moment. We have a moment. One photo successfully saved to the album of Lightroom. So now what I'm gonna do is actually, I'm gonna save this preset. So click create preset. We'll say Foggy Day 2, because I already have another one. And we'll click the little check mark up at the top. It is now saved to presets, and we can use it on the rest of our photos. So, ooh, that's cool. Let's do a few more right here real fast. Let's do this one. This one is awesome. Ooh, that looks good. So what we're gonna do is actually go over here, click presets. Now, if this doesn't show up for you, then you're probably not in user presets. You have all these other ones. Click the user presets down here, and you will be in your presets. Now it organizes it by alphabet. So there's Foggy Day 2. Drop that on there. Wow. They didn't really do a whole lot, but it's a good starting point, because now you can go in and just edit what you want out of it. The main problem I see here is there's too much haze, so we gotta get rid of that just a little bit. Ooh, that looks good. So what we'll do is, I think it needs a little more blue, so we'll pop in just a little more blue right there. Yes. We'll take some of these whites, kind of drop down the whites and darken those shadows just a little bit more. That way things pop just a hair. That's good right there. So now we'll save that to the camera roll, maximum available. You know the drill. And it's done. Okay, so I should stop clicking my fingers, because that just sounds weird. Let's do the last one. All right, so I want to do this road right here, because this one should look awesome. Let's see, what's Foggy Day 2 look like? All right, it's got more blue. I like photos with blue in it. That's just awesome, as you can see. Drop these shadows down just a little bit. Get a little more contrast on the road and the trees, just by a little bit. That might be a little too much, actually. Get a little more of that road line in there to spark, almost. Okay. There we go. There we go. Now that'll work. That'll work. Okay, so save to camera roll, maximum available. Boom. Yes, that works for me. This may take a moment. Usually does. Now what we're gonna do is, I like to go over here to, I think it's called, Lens Distortion. Really cool app. It's a lot of creative possibilities in here. So we'll go to, let's see, the first one we did, and I like to add just a little bit of warmth. I don't know, something about this just looks incredible. What I like to do is go in here to saturation and just bring that up a little bit, and then it looks more like it was in the photo, and it gives that really warm, cold look that is just, I don't know, something about it is inviting. I want to go there. I was there. I'll just save it, click a little save button up at the top, save file. Okay, so it's really just, options from here on out. You don't really have to do this. You can just do anything else. You don't really have to do this at all. You can just do whatever. You can go down here, you could add more fog. Not enough fog for you? Add more fog. I mean, it was a foggy day. You can even, let's see, you could go in and add another layer of something else, and let's see, here we go. I mean, you could hardly see at all when driving. Let's see, well, we need to bring this one down. It's all up to you. You can do whatever you want. I'm not gonna do that. Remove that. Remove that. So I just like to be artistic and kind of just like do things around the edge, not too overdone. Sometimes they're a little overdone, but I try to hold back. Let's see, is there any blurriness to it? Yeah. Okay, so the blur. There we go.
I can like a little something on the lens, maybe. It won't even be noticed, but you'll know. You'll know you put it on there, and you'll be like, "Is that little thing? I can put that there." All right, so that's it. That's how you do it. Here is the finished photos, and that is some very warm-looking, foggy photos that everyone's gonna look at you and go, "How did you take those photos? I want those photos on my wall." And you can say, I don't know what you'll say, but whatever you say, I'm sure it'll be good.
Also, one other thing to remember is don't just keep taking the same photo over and over and over again. Or if you took a photo and it looks terrible and you're like, why does this look so bad? Figure out why it looks bad. Figure out what you're kind of looking for. Try different angles, change your composition, you know, just move around and try different things. Don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and you don't really like it. It's just keep trying different stuff. Don't stick to the exact same thing. You know, don't just do the exact same shots I'm doing. Like, oh, well, if he's doing leading lines, then I have to do leading lines. If he's doing road shots, I have to do road shots. You know, try something different, change it up. You know, it's a picture. You can do whatever you want with it. You just take it, and if you don't like it, figure out why you don't like it. Take another one. You like that one? Why do you like that one? Figure out the differences. Yeah. That should help you. Go take a photo. I will see you in the next video. Starting to snow, by the way. Got some rain on my lens. All clean. All clean. No one's ever seen that.
All clean, all clean.